Good morning everybody, welcome to Immortal Gaming. This is me again, Marvin, and we're now here for another video for Ragnarok M Classic. And this time, we're going to have an update with my tier list. Finally had some time to make an updated tier list for everybody. And of course, this is very timely because the global server or the global version of ROMC is coming out very soon. And they are currently on CBT as of the moment. Okay, first and foremost, before anything else, of course, this is based only on all of my opinion. Okay, of course, you may have different experiences, different opinion, and different perception about each of the class. So this is based on the current, how I see the current meta. Okay, so of course, you may have your own different opinion. So here we have the different classes. I do believe that we have captured all of the classes on the screen. I've on purpose made myself smaller so that you can see everything. And as you will be noticing, the legends here is gonna be much broader than the first tier list that we have uploaded in the channel, since we have now a huge understanding or a complete understanding of how unbalanced currently are the job classes based on my opinion. So I do hope that the developers will be giving more attention to buffing more classes so that they could catch up to other overpowered classes as of the moment. Okay, so let's start with grinding. Okay, for grinding, of course, we're going to be revealing all at once, since we're just gonna be looking at the rating one at a time, and we're going to be grouping the job classes in this part. Okay, so let's first go and look at the best class, in my opinion, in terms of grinding, and is being used by everybody here at the server as of the moment, the mechanic class. Of course, the mechanic is it has everything that you would want in terms of grinding: the passives, the capability of earning more zenny, the range, and the ease of making a build for it. In terms of, you know, in my case, I am a magic user, and when I built a mechanic, it's very easy to use and it's very easy to build in terms of grinding. So I'm gonna rate it as SSS. The next set of ratings will be for the Shadow Chaser and the Performers. The Shadow Chaser is very good at early game, since compared to mechanics don't have that range at the very beginning, and also has that passive of earning more zenny from the monsters it kills. So as compared with the Ragnarok Eternal Love, the combat system before is how many you can kill at a certain amount of time. Now they have reverted it, and it's now how efficient you're gonna kill, the number of kills that you are given per day. And if you are new to the game, you can get up to 10,000 kills per day, and that's why, you know, Shadow Chaser and Performers are gonna be on double S, or the upper S class, because the Performers are really needed. Okay, they are really needed. They have this performing skill, Mr. Gold is Rich, that gives you more experience for your party. That's why they are needed on the early to mid game. Okay, and now the Shadow Chasers is also very good on early part because of the range, and at the same time a passive that gives you more zenny too. Next is gonna be the genetic. Okay, the genetic is tier S, even though they have the, you know, the ranged attack as compared with the mechanic on the early game. But that's the only reason they are S. They are good on early game, but the shine kinds of fades out on the end game, since mechanic is gonna be ruling all over the grind maps. So next would be Shura, Sorcerer, Royal Guard, and Ranger. They only have one thing in common: their grind skill has range. Okay, Ranger of course has range, Royal Guard has Shield Chain, which has range, Sorcerer is also ranged, and Shura has Finger Offensive, which is also ranged. And that's it. Okay, the next one would be Archbishop. Archbishop, I rated this one as tier B, not because, you know, wait, Marvin, I thought because of range. Why is Archbishop on B? Archbishop is used on the early game as a buffer. Okay, you can go for the Archbishop without a buff or not, but I think the Archbishop as a grind class is not good, because you would want to invest as early on the early game on being very tanky, because that's where you're gonna be wanted in most of the parties. So if you're gonna be investing as a very tanky character, then the Archbishop is gonna be, you know, falling a little bit of the meter in terms of tier. Okay, so I'm sorry for the Archbishops out there, but trust me, you're still gonna be wanting to become an Archbishop. Okay, that doesn't take out the fact that the Archbishop is really good at buffing. Next is the Warlock. The Warlock is also ranged, but then again, a Warlock is gonna be, you know, mostly using auto attack, or if you haven't built up Napalm Vulcan, it's not gonna be easy for you as of the moment. So that's why I also rated it as B. Same for the Rune Knight, although you can have a little bit of range, but then again, that range is the only thing that you have. You can still try to one-shot the enemies using bash. It's not gonna be the build that you're wanting in the end game. Okay, so that's why you're also on tier B. Okay, the last one is the Guillotine Cross. The Guillotine Cross as an assassin, or an assassin cross, is gonna be, you know, melee. Take note, in terms of grinding, you would always want to use single target skills. So there's not much choices for the Guillotine Cross at that point. So that's why it's the least one in my opinion. Okay, let's now go to the instance as a ranger. Okay, the instances on a ranger on the early game is very good. Okay, the positioning when we were playing back then on the early game of Romsey is really good. Okay, but then again, almost nobody is gonna play ADL Ranger on the end game. That's why it's kind of hard on choosing a Ranger and playing it on instances, because at early game you'll be wanting to become an ADL. On the end game, you'll be wanting to play a Trapper, which is really night and day difference in terms of builds. So it's very hard becoming a Ranger on the end game and mid game. That's why it's good, but you know, you won't stick to a Ranger until the end. Okay, next, performers. Performers are much needed also as of the moment, because they have this buff and debuff on the enemy, because they can make your party deal more damage on the bosses. That's why I kind of liked the performers now. But on the early game, you won't need performers in the early game, to be honest. Okay, next, a Rune Knight is really good on the end game. Okay, on the early game, it is also very good having you know, a Dragon Breath build, but on the other side, of course, more and more Rune Knights are gonna be choosing auto attack build for instances, because that's where they shine in the late game. So building it as an auto attack straight from the beginning is gonna be huge. Okay, and considering that the Avenger, the Holy Avenger, is really important even on early game, that's the reason why the Rune Knight is very high in my opinion on instance. Okay, next is Royal Guard. Of course, on instances, Royal Guard is really needed from early game until end game. On early game, you want it to be very tanky, because there are tons of instances that you would want to complete without with all of your party members surviving, and having a tank is very much needed on those cases. On mid game, a Royal Guard using instant slash is gonna be ripping enemies apart. A lot of people have used the Royal Guard as an instant slash or a DPS machine on the mid game, because it gives out an easier run. And on the end game, when you get legend runs or legend difficulty on your instances, you would want Royal Guards again for tanking. And that's what we want, okay? That's the reason why Royal Guard is gonna be needed on every instance. Next, Warlock. Okay, I'm a Warlock myself, and I've seen Warlocks who are low spender, and they really excel on instances in terms of DPS. Not as good as other job classes who are gonna be rated here as triple S, but Warlocks are also very good once you have already obtained either the max Meteor Storm on your Aesir, and also the first master skill. They're really good. They're needed on crowd control. They're much needed on Oracle. They're much needed on other instances wherein you need a huge damage burst, and that's where the Warlock comes in. Okay, even on endgame, the Warlock is really good. Next is the Sorcerer. The Sorcerer on the early game is also gonna be needed. One of the highest DPS rankers out there is gonna be the Sorcerer at the very early game. But on the end game, it becomes mid, even though even though the master skill, the second master skill, is already out. I think the Sorcerer is really, you know, skewed into PvP. That's where it is best needed, okay, on PvP. But on instances, it's mid, it's average in my opinion, okay. If I could give a better rating here, it's a little bit above average. Okay, next, Guillotine Cross. I've only seen one Guillotine Cross that is a Kraken that is performing very good, very well on instances. And others are really having a hard time on performing well on instances. And if you're gonna be a Guillotine Cross doing auto attack, I would be suggesting for you to become a Rune Knight instead. That's the only, you know, reasoning behind my rating. Okay, next is the Shadow Chaser. At the very beginning, the Shadow Chaser is also just like the Ranger, having a good burst, very good long range attack, and mostly very easy to build at the very early game, because you just need Refines and Ignore Death on your character, and that's pretty much it. But then again, you will get outshined by other DPS on the long term, particularly when other DPS already have obtained their own master skills. So the Shadow Chaser is not gonna be shining on the late game, okay? The Archbishop, of course, nobody can get through instances without a full support. The only instance that I can run now without a full support is probably Palace of Ghost, and that's it. Archbishop is gonna be needed everywhere, and Archbishop having that flexibility right now on the second master skill, that wherein you can deal damage and at the same time still support other players and have a hybrid build on your gears. It's really amazing to become an Archbishop from the beginning until the end game, until now. Next, Shura. Okay, Shura is really good in terms of DPS. Same with the Shadow Chaser and the Ranger. The only good thing here, the reason why I rated it as S, not as B tier, is because it keeps up the DPS and the damage from the early game until the end game in terms of damage on the bosses on instances. The reason why I did not put it on double S is probably because it lacks AoE. And if you're gonna choose between AoE and single target DPS, you have to choose between two different master skills. So that's a tough choice, right? Next is the mechanic. Okay, the mechanic is really good. Okay, very good. And I could see a lot of people on the global server, considering that they have already seen how good the performance of the mechanic on the end game can be. I think more people are gonna become mechanic on the global server. That's just, you know, my premonition. But I always see a lot of mechanics that are well built now, and it's very, very good to have a mechanic on instances, because you just have to follow one build, and then that's it. The moment they fixed the bug on the ABR cannons, That's it. It's a done deal for the mechanics. They're triple S. They are good everywhere. On instances, whether it's single target or or AoE, they're very good. They're tanky, they have mobility, they can easily evade attacks or spells from the boss. So that's the reason why I really love the mechanic. If I could be given a chance to build another character for my account or play on global server, I would definitely go for a mechanic this time. Okay, the next one is the genetic. Okay, genetic is average. I might say below average. Yep, I think it is below average. Trust me, I have used a genetic from the very beginning until I transitioned into a warlock. Okay, the genetic is just okay. The reason why it is below average, in my opinion, is because the damage. Okay, the damage that it takes for you to deal burst kind of takes a while, and you have to buff 2 or 3 different things, and these skills cannot be included in your prayer for elite. So that's the reason why it's kind of hard for me when I was a genetic on the early to mid game. That's why I transitioned in the first place, and they kept it, they kept on neglecting the issue on the genetic, and I think the developers think that the genetic is just, the best one for the PvP. But then again, there are tons of counters to the genetic on PvP. Let's now go to the F2P column, okay? For the Ranger, F2P, kind of above average in my opinion. A lot of people can, make a very good Ranger at the very early game. But it kind of slows down on the mid game to late game, since no matter how high you pump cash onto this character, it's just gonna be out DPS'd by other classes. For the performers are, in my opinion, double S on F2P friendly, since the skills are what you want from performers, not only for their skill sets, but also how they support other party members in the game. Now, if you're wanting a DPS performer, we're gonna be talking on a different F2P friendly rating. I think it's gonna be a B or an A there, because you can have DPS, but I would rather go for other DPS out there. Now, let's go to the Rune Knight. Okay, for the Rune Knight, I think you need to invest a ton here on becoming a Rune Knight, not only on deposits but also on different gear builds, even on the Dragon Breath build, because you would technically need a plus 15 weapon there. So either way, you're gonna be needing a lot of investment for a Rune Knight. Next one is the Royal Guard. So in terms of being F2P friendly, I think it is on the F2P friendly side, particularly if you are working your Royal Guard to be a tank. That's gonna be easy for you. You're just the focus on your character is gonna be on enchants and on refines on your armor, but you can get ton of reductions using different gacha out there. Okay, particularly right now we have a ton of gacha headwears that would be giving you a ton of damage protection or damage reduction. That's why I think the Royal Guard is on that side is gonna be F2P friendly. But if you want an instant slash Royal Guard, I think it's gonna be on the pay to win side. Okay, you need a ton of investments there. That's why I cannot give Royal Guard higher than S rating. Next, Warlock. For the Warlock, I think it's a little bit on the low side. Okay, on the pay to win side. Why? Because on the early part of the game, if you started as a high wizard, it's gonna be painful for you as an F2P. It's gonna be so hard for you as an F2P if you started from a wizard. That's why you need to have a little bit more investment so that you'll be wanted on other instances or on PvP, because you need you know, you need to max out your Fire Pillar and your Meteor Storm as early as possible. Okay, that's why, you know, particularly when the master skills set out, you would need a master skill also. Okay, next, Sorcerer. Sorcerer is on the free-to-play friendly, in my opinion, because there's just a definitive build or a set for you in order for you to just deal tons and tons of damage at the early and mid game. It's just that your DPS is not gonna be your main factor or main reason for joining a party or a guild or an instance. It's your utility now. So if you're gonna be a utility sorcerer, that's gonna be on the free-to-play friendly side. That's why I rated it as SS. Next is Guillotine Cross. No. If you're gonna be using a Guillotine Cross, you're gonna be pumping a ton of investment to it, and you're still gonna be seeing other classes just deal out this almost the same damage as you have as of the moment. That's why I think it's still B. Okay. Next is Shadow Chaser. For this Shadow Chaser, I would rank it as S on the F2P friendly scale. I think the Shadow Chaser is just good on having the triangle shot build, and that's it. They're gonna be, you know, they're gonna be on the top of the DPS marks before or pre-master skill patch. Okay, so in that alone is gonna be a free-to-play friendly rating for me. Next, Archbishop, of course, same as the Royal Guard. It's gonna be free-to-play friendly. Your target here is gonna be to make your Archbishop as tanky as possible, and that alone is your role. Okay, support and be tanky. That's it. It's that easy to become an Archbishop. The next thing that you're gonna be needing as an Archbishop is to master the skills, master the gameplay, and that is where that sets other Archbishop apart from others. It's just, you know, mastering their gameplay, and not just because, you know, they have high gears or better enchants. Okay, next, the Shura. I think the Shura is also the same as Rune Knight. You need a ton of investments for the Shura in order for you to give a good damage, particularly on the master skill side, either on the master skill side or on your gears. You need to have a good set of enchants out there, a good refine, etc. Same as the Rune Knight. Next, Mechanic. Okay, Mechanic is S on the F2P friendly. I know I have rated it very low before, but having the Mechanic right now shine on just one build, I think that makes the Mechanic F2P friendly. Although you need high refines, high Aesir Monument, you know, ratings, high deposits, it still does not beat the fact that you just need one build for the Mechanic for everything. And that alone, I think, considering that it is SS on grind, you don't need to build other job classes, I think that makes it S on F2P friendly. And the last one is the Genetic, same as the Warlock. I think the Genetic, you need to pump up a lot of deposits for the Genetic, also with the gears, because the Genetic has different sets of gears for two different builds, so you have to really choose between the two if you're gonna build one. And apart from that, you just need one. Most of the time, you just need one weapon, and that weapon doesn't need any upgrade. That's why I kind of rated it higher than all of the other DPS because of that reason alone. Okay, let's now go to the early game aspects ratings of the classes. Okay, let's go to the Ranger. On early game, I've already mentioned this a couple of times in this video. The Ranger is really good on early game. Next is the Performers. The Performers, I rated it as S because they're just needed. Okay, they're just needed on a couple of sets on the game, and then that's it. Couple of instances. They're really needed on grind. They're easy to build, and then that's it. Okay, nothing more, nothing less. Rune Knights on early game is kind of very hard because the build is not set on the very early part of the game. Next is Royal Guard. Royal Guard is same as Performers, it's just they're just needed on early game. And then that's it. Next, Warlock. Okay, Warlock is also tier A. I think this is almost S in my opinion on early game because the crowd control that Warlocks give. I might change it to S already. Okay, the crowd control that Warlock gives on the early game is really needed. Okay, but then again, it's very hard at the same time. Or maybe that's the reason why I rated it as A in the first place. It's very hard to start early game as a wizard or a high wizard. The point there is that you're needed, and that's the reason why I changed the rating to S. Next is Sorcerer. Of course, Sorcerers are, apart from having DPS, they're also gonna be shining on the early game because of their DPS and their utility at the same time. That's the reason why Sorcerers, apart from very easy to build and very F2P friendly because of their utility, I think on early game really shines across the job classes. Guillotine Cross, on early game, you're just gonna be having nightmares when you sleep if you start as an assassin. So if you are a masochist, then I definitely, you know, would advise you to start as an assassin or as a thief. Okay, next is Shadow Chaser, double S. Same with the Sorcerer, they can pump up huge burst damage, and that's what you would want. Same with Ranger, same with Sorcerer, huge burst damage, and then that's it. Okay, and they're easy, pretty much easy to build too. Archbishop, of course, you cannot go a single instance or a single part of the game without an Archbishop, except for grinding, I think. So every party has an Archbishop, and then that's it. That's all you need in the early game. Okay, Shura. Okay, you can go without a Shura as a DPS on your party. It's almost the same as the Shadow Chaser. If you want a huge DPS, I think the Shadow Chaser is much easier to build than a Shura. Okay, next is the Mechanic. Okay, on early game, the Mechanic is gonna be as hard to build as other, you know, other DPS here, such as Rune Knight and Shura. Next is Genetic. For Genetic, I think they're kind of good on the early game. More people will be, you know, waking up to the reality that, no, mid-game, Genetic not good. Okay? End game, you'd rather have other classes than a Genetic. Okay, so next, let's go to the late game, and this is what matters in my opinion. You could have picked your classes based on the early game, but you're gonna suffer on the late game. So this is the reason why I think the late game is the best tier rating here, and somewhat the highest ratio on the tier list. Okay, let's start with the Ranger. I think there's just not much ADL Rangers out there in our current meta. Most of the Rangers now are on the Trapper build because of the second master skill, and then that's it. Okay, next is the Performers. The Performers are, you know, average. You can go without a Performer, but having a Performer is still very good at the end game. If you're gonna play as a Performer, my question is, are you gonna enjoy it? Having that option, just being an option on instances. In my opinion, I'm not sure if the Performers are gonna be enjoying the late game. But then again, don't get me wrong, Performers really add up a lot of value on the runs. It's just that they're not that needed. Next, Rune Knights. Okay, on late game, Rune Knights are really good DPS or damage dealer, particularly on the PvE side. On PvP side, they kind of, you know, shine less as compared with the first season of Guild versus Guild. So, yep. Next is the Royal Guard. Okay, the Royal Guard on endgame, triple S. They have everything. They're tanky, they have damage, they have mobility, they have everything that you could ask for on a character. So if if there is, you know, a premonition that I would be looking at the global server, people are just gonna choose either Archbishop, Royal Guard, Warlock, or Mechanic. Next, Warlock, of course, double S also. They're very much flexible. Having a master skill, being a Warlock, okay, I could say that having only one master skill, you could use it everywhere, okay, everywhere. And that alone, I think, is what makes the Warlock double S on late game. Next, Sorcerer. Sorcerers now are getting much more attention on the PvP side on the late game. But on the PvE side, it's just average. That's why on the end game, a sorcerer is a tier A because what you would want to build it on the early game is very far from what you want to build it on the end game. Okay, the Warlock Master Skill 1 or the Warlock, all of it generally, are just the same as Sorcerer Master Skill 2. And that's it. Okay, next is Guillotine Cross. Guillotine Cross, in my opinion, is a tier A in the sense that if you have funded your Guillotine Cross on the late game, you would deal almost good damage as a Rune Knight. I would be suggesting for you to become a Rune Knight instead. Next is Shadow Chaser. I think there are no Shadow Chasers now. The only Shadow Chasers that I see as of the moment are the ones that are in Cat Invasion. Apart from that, I don't think there are many that are using Shadow Chasers as of the moment. Maybe we are still figuring out the second Master Skill, but it's just, you know, the cooldown of the Master Skill 1 is just too high for it to be spammed and for the Shadow Chasers to become relevant on different types of, you know, gameplay in the game. Okay, Archbishop, as you would have guessed it, it's triple S. Okay, triple S on Archbishop on end game. Next is Shura. I would rate Shura as S on end game because they still keep up with the DPS of all of the classes. It's just that they still lack the one thing that you would need on other cases, which is AoE. They have AoE, but it's not spammable, okay? And it's also a master skill. Next, Mechanic, triple S. Also, the ABR is wrecking havoc on our meta as of the moment, whether it is PvP, it is on instances, they're really good, okay? They also avoid that, you know, range detriment on their character. That's why the ABR cannons are really the best. Next one, Genetic on the late game. Same as the Shadow Chaser, almost nobody is gonna be Genetic as of the moment. I see few Genetics on Guild versus Guild, but they're easily countered there. Okay, let's now go to PvP column. Okay, Rangers, S on PvP column because of the second master skill. Next is the Performers on PvP. I don't think they matter that much on PvP, I think. Okay, next is Rune Knight, S on PvP. It depends on what you're using. If you're using a Dragon Breath build, then good for you because you have range. If you're using auto attack build, you might want to be a whale or a kraken at that point. If you're going through 6 versus 6 or guild versus guild using auto attack, then you have to be kraken or whale to shine on those instances. Royal Guard, it doesn't matter if you have invested a ton on your Royal Guard or just a little bit, you're just still gonna be killing. Even on Rift Gears, you're gonna be killing people on PvP. And that's just how it is on the current meta. They're just too OP. Okay, Warlock, I think Warlock is SS with the, you know, without the Royal Guards. If you are up against Royal Guards, the Warlock stands no chance. They're gonna be like C tier. But then again, against other job classes, they're still double S in my opinion. Very good range. Apart from that, that is one of the things that players are really complaining about in this game. The range of the Warlock is higher than the range of Rangers, and that is with the ADL Rangers. But with the introduction of the Master Skill, the second Master Skill of the Ranger, of course, they have a higher range now. Now, let's go to the Sorcerers. The Sorcerers are triple S in my opinion. They now have damage because of the second Master Skill. They have high utility. They can strip buffs, which is very important in killing Royal Guards, and that's why I rated them as triple S. Next, Guillotine Cross. Yeah, it's just average on PvP. 6 versus 6, yeah, they're good. On Guild versus Guild, you need skills, okay, in order for your Guillotine Cross to shine. Next is Shadow Chaser. They're still really good on PvP, even before, and in my opinion, that's the reason why I put this on S, because they're the killing machine on the early to mid game of PvP. Most Shadow Chasers are now switched to other job classes on our current meta. Archbishop, you cannot go. Wait, why is this double S? You cannot go. You cannot go a PvP without an Archbishop. It's kind of an advantage if your team has an Archbishop there. Okay. Next is a Shura. On PvP, they're really good. Okay, they're really good to kill or to burst out different types of enemy units, even Royal Guards. And that's why Shura is also very good even on endgame. Next is the mechanics. I told you guys this one. The mechanics tear out parties, clashes with just one ABR. They're cleaning up, okay? They're wreaking havoc once you have properly built your mechanic, and that's why I ranked it as triple S. Genetic, just same as Guillotine Cross. Okay, let's now go to the overall rating. My overall rating for this. For the Rangers, I would rate it as A. For the Performers, same as Rangers, A. For the Rune Knight, I would rate it higher, S. The Royal Guard, you have everything as a Royal Guard, triple S. And Warlock, okay, Warlock is also very good overall. No bias, because I've already experienced being a Warlock. Okay, next is a Sorcerer. Sorcerer also the same as Warlock. You're very much needed on endgame. If you're looking only on the DPS aspect, you're not gonna see this the same way I see it as of the moment. But in terms of utility, your role, your use, the Sorcerer is just the same as Warlock. Okay. Next is Guillotine Cross. Yeah, B. Next is the Shadow Chaser. A. They're very good on early game, but on end game, you're gonna be, wanting to shift to other classes. Archbishop, triple S, no doubt about that. Next is Shura. S rating on Shura as DPS, same as Rune Knight. And the next one is the mechanic, triple S, because you technically can, use mechanic on everywhere. Genetic, oh my god, left out class, same as the Guillotine Cross. Alright, so a very, very long video. I do hope that you have appreciated the time and effort that I put into this video. Thank you everybody for watching. I know that you have your own opinions regarding the tier list. If you have, kindly comment it down below. And that's it. Thank you everybody for watching. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. If you happen to like this video, please do leave a like, share this to your friends, and click that bell notification button so you get notified every time I upload a new video, start a new stream, or a new content. That's it. See you again in the next video. Bye-bye!